On my phone was Peyton Manning. He said, Jeff, I feel your pain. Will you join me in exorcising the curse of Bobby Lane? Just like that, we started winning. Just like that, we were playoff bound. Just like that, way up in heaven, Bobby Lane turned around. Say goodbye to all that sorrow. Say goodbye to all that pain. Say goodbye to the same old life and the curse of Bobby Lane. Everybody say goodbye. Say goodbye to all that pain. Say goodbye to the same old life and the curse of Bobby Lane.
Yeehaw! Let's go! All right, welcome into Rockhound Detroit Lions pregame show. Doing it a day early since we will be at the game tomorrow at Ford Field. And that is where you can catch all the action for your Detroit Lions. Obviously going to be taking on the Chicago Bears in what is a pivotal Week 2 matchup. It's another division rivalry. It's a division matchup, and it's one that the Detroit Lions cannot lose. Coming into the game, your Detroit Lions are 0-1, and the Chicago Bears lost a game in Week 1 in the final moments. We'll get into some key yardage stats, passing, rushing. We'll get into some other stats today. Obviously, it's Week 2. And Detroit Lions fans melted down after Week 1. A lot of them questioning on if this is the same team. Is this the same offense? Are they going to be able to get these issues corrected? And you're going to find out here in a couple hours when the video drops what you forgot about Kelvin Shepherd. You're going to re-find out tomorrow just who he is. I promise you that. I'm making my call, man. I'm sticking my stake in the ground. Kelvin Shepherd is going to have this defense ready to go tomorrow. But more importantly, John Morton is going to have this offense firing on all cylinders. Look, Week 1 was not a good game, right? I mean, there was some good things that happened. There was a few keys that Kelvin Shepherd wanted to make sure that you understood. And man, did he just get ripped apart by the fan base. And you know what? I've got to give out a huge shout out to Kelvin Shepherd for the way that he reacted, the way that he pushed back, and the way that he's not going to allow, just like Dan Campbell, no more narratives. It's not going to happen. So if you're in the media and you're driving narratives, it's not going to happen anymore in Detroit. This channel doesn't want it. Clearly, you know that about me, but most importantly, you can tell that Dan and Kelvin have had enough. Stop with the same old BS, man. Let's talk football, right? Let's worry about how this team can get better instead of just driving this stake, man. It's not what Lions fans are really all about. A large majority of us want to see this team do well. You can watch the game tomorrow on Fox. So whether you have an antenna or you've paid for cable, it should be there for you. It's also available on the Lions Radio Network tomorrow if you care to listen to it, if you're at work or whatever you're doing. Obviously, today's pregame show is going to dive into a little bit of the stats and the analytics from last week to this week. So now that we actually have a few things to look at, we're going to be able to kind of match up, I think, a little bit better of what this Lions defense versus the offense can do this week and vice versa. Let's start with the injury report right away. I know that there's been a lot of conversation about this, and rightfully so. I think a lot of people are worried, just what are the Lions going to be able to do if Taylor Decker's not in the game? And that's a valid question. And I think it's a valid point. We already have too many injuries. I mean, one was too many. One was too many. Especially on this offensive line that already is missing really the centerpiece, right? In Frank Ragnow. He's the leader, or was the leader of this offensive line, along with Penei Sewell. And man, when you're missing Frank, you could clearly see just how much we were missing Frank this last week. A lot of miscues, a lot of miscommunications. Not good, right? And John Morton has promised us that they're going to get it fixed. Let me bring it in here now that I actually have it set up. All right, so still on the injury report, Trevor Nowatzki is still doubtful. He was downgraded to out for game status. He was doubtful up until Friday, and then downgraded to out for game status. Sione Vaki is doubtful. Now, he's a key piece. He is a key piece. There we go. Now you can see. To our special teams. As Dan Campbell, I had mentioned in the press conference on Friday, that Sione Vaki is critical to this special teams unit. I would love to see him back on the field, man, but if he's not 100%, hey, you're just going to have to do the next man up mentality that I know a lot of Lions fans dislike, but at the same time, you didn't have a problem with it last year, right? You didn't have a problem with it the year before when we're going to the NFC Championship game or winning a 1 seed next year. You didn't have a problem with it then. Why do you have a problem with it now? This team has plenty of depth. Yeah, is it going to look right? Probably not. Is everything going to go right? Probably not. But can they still win football games? Absolutely. Taylor Decker is questionable, and I'm going to state my opinion right now. I don't think he's playing. And the reason why I don't think he's playing, and I hope that I'm wrong, but at the same time, do we really want him to play? Dan Campbell mentioned that this is more about the long-term season. This is not about one game. Absolutely, Taylor Decker wants to get a shot at Ben Johnson, I'm sure, to rack up a win, and they can be friends afterwards. He'll have a shot in Week 18. Whether or not the Lions will even need that game by that time of the season, well, we don't know yet. So we don't know if we will have players resting in Week 18 just yet. Taylor Decker, I'm sure, wants to get in, but if I understand Dan Campbell enough now going into Season 5, is he is not going to risk... He's not going to risk the biscuit, right, for just one game. He wants to make sure that his left tackle is ready to go for the majority of the game snaps throughout the season. And if one game can get in the way of that, he's not going to risk it. On the other hand, do we really feel confident that Taylor Decker is going to be healthy at all this season? He had off-season shoulder surgery. It clearly has not been fully rectified. It's not fixed. At least the reports that have said it's the same shoulder. Now, I may have missed it. I haven't seen if Taylor Decker has said it's the same shoulder or if Dan has said it's the same shoulder. But that is what we're hearing. It's the same shoulder. Giovanni Manu, is he going to be ready? 6'7", 350 pounds. He's a massive man. He moves different. He's going to have to be ready. Dan feels he's ready. Obviously, John Morton feels he's ready. I want to know what Hank Fraley has to say. Clearly, he'd say he's ready. But they also brought in Devin Cochran. If Devin Cochran is added to the game roster for Sunday, then I think we're obviously going to have our answer. They're going to have both of these guys ready in case Manu is having some difficulty. Devin Cochran does have plenty of snaps. One of the most interesting pieces to this week's injury report is Kirby Joseph. Now, I had read that he had a knee injury or some knee issues. Now, look, this is concerning to me. I guess before I get into that, Terrion Arnold's good to go. Jack Campbell's good to go. Daniel Thomas is going to be wearing, I think, some sort of a wrap club, some sort of a, some sort of a cast, I guess, on his hand. Broke a bone last week. So we'll see how that goes. Kirby Joseph, man, this is a problem. Big problem. I am more concerned about Kirby than really anything else right now, because the whole offseason program, Kirby was having knee issues. They signed him to a massive deal, and he has knee issues. He sat out a majority of practices because of knee issues. What the F? If he had these knee issues, why did they sign him to such a big deal? If he can't play in week 2 because he has some knee soreness, that's a problem. Right? I know that these players are going to go through injuries. It's a given. But some things that you can't do anything about, like arthritis, right? I mean, we don't know what it is. I have no idea what the full injury is. But arthritic issues, man, tendinopathy, there's some of that stuff you can't do anything about. Right? You can take a bunch of Toradol. That's the word I was looking for a week ago. You could take, I guess, prednisone now, but that's not going to fix anything long term. If anything, it's going to do more damage as you play on it. So I'm severely concerned that Kirby may miss a big portion of the season because of his knee issues. And that's where I would question Brad Holmes. Like, I get it. You wanted to keep the guy around because he's one of your own. But if you remember what I said early in the offseason, and no shade at Kirby, because I love the dude. I love what he does, man. I think he stands on his business, and he's always 2 feet on the ground wherever he is, man. He's one with the kids, as you've seen in the offseason, and he does good, positive things. But from a business perspective, man, the ether was so high with him. You could have probably snatched a first-round pick, and he could have brought in another good guy. Not to say that he could have turned out to be as good as Kirby, but I guess those are the big decisions that GMs have to make. Sometimes they get them right, sometimes they get them wrong. In this case, we'll find out. We'll see, how effective Kirby's going to be and how many games he's going to miss because of the knee issue. Let's just hope, for his sake, that it's not much, and that he's actually able to play a significant portion of the season. So my question to you right away this morning: how concerned are you about Taylor Decker and his long-term, probability in playing in these games throughout the season? And the same thing for Kirby Joseph. What is your concern level today? Oh, we got some new upgrades. I just noticed this. Holy cow. YouTube just launched some new upgrades. Interesting. It says members only live stream. Schedule your live stream, switch to members only. So I could change this to members only right now. That's interesting. All right, so I'm not going to do that. But anyway, how concerned are you with Kirby and Decker long-term injury possibility? We'll put a poll up for you guys this morning. We'll go very for Decker. Do very for Kirby. And not at all for Kirby. And not at all for Decker. There you go. First poll's up. All right, so injury report. It's not that bad. I mean, we should have the majority of guys out there. Obviously, the offensive line had some significant issues last week versus the Packers, but let's be honest with ourselves, okay? The Packers are for real. They are for real this year. They're not faking, right? This isn't the Minnesota Vikings of 3 seasons ago. This is a team that can play at a high level. They have done the right things in bringing the right guys in, drafting, developing, just like the Packers do. It's the same MO that the Lions are trying to fulfill here. They've just been doing it for a longer period of time. They're a little bit ahead of us there, but when they started with a new quarterback, obviously it was going to take Jordan Love a little bit of time to get going. And quite honestly, the Lions had a good plan last week. And I think that they executed some things very well. And then they did some things that were a little bit eye-opening. Dropping Aiden and Barnes. Dropping Aiden and Davenport into coverage, probably not the best idea. However, I did witness in some of the plays that I went and watched, there was triple doubles on the offensive line. Aiden, Davenport, in the center of that offense had 3 double teams actively going. The center was going from right, then the guard would go to the left. You know what I'm saying? Like the center and the guard were together, and then one of them would switch off and go to the other side when someone was trying to get in. Beautiful plan. Beautiful plan. And that is a plan where you need more guys penetrating the middle of the offense, right? You can't just win on the outside. And that's why I've said for how many seasons now, it is not about the edge rusher. You can seal those guys off, and they did. You need interior pressure. You need interior pressure, not only from your defensive tackles, your nose tackles, but also your inside linebackers. And the Lions just did not execute good enough in those situations. But to have 3 double teams actively going at once is something you don't see very often. And the reason why is because it kind of leaves that offense exposed. My question is, how did we not expose that? I mean, what did we do wrong? And clearly we didn't send enough guys. We were dropping some of our edge defenders into coverage, which, look, Aiden's done that before. A couple seasons ago, he was dropping into coverage and he snatched 3 interceptions. And I think it was his first year. So he's okay dropping into coverage at times. But he's not someone that's going to run downfield with a tight end. He is not someone that is going to be able to hang with a running back or a slot receiver. That is not what Aiden is going to be able to do. What I noticed from this defense is you're trying to pull these edge back to kind of sit in a containment zone, and Calvin was trying to utilize the inside backers a little bit more freely. And it's exactly my main season call this year was that the backers were going to be more involved in this defense. The highlights were going to be the backers. In the video that comes out around 12:30 today, or 1, I can't remember what time I set it for, you're going to see in there what you forgot about Shep, and he kind of told you the plan from day one when he sat down with Dan Miller. You guys know that I pay attention to the psychology of things and the body language and what people say, and I picked up on this, but after you guys really some of you slayed Calvin Shepard this week, that's why I did the video. It's more video inside video, if you will. I didn't talk a ton, but it's a good exposure as to why Calvin is doing what he's doing. Expect these linebackers to get involved in this game. Just didn't go that well in week 1. How will the injury report have an effect on the game is one of the questions that I kept getting this week in this week's mailbag. And I didn't get a chance to touch on this. And look, I didn't know what the injury report was going to be on Friday until we got there. And here it is Saturday morning, and we know. If Taylor Decker is out, here's what I would say. Taylor Decker is a vet that has experience. He has the ability to help Mahogany do the right things, be in the right, calls, the right protections getting called. He's sliding to the right side. He's doing all the things that he needs to do. He can help Mahogany do that. Now, if you have Manu in there and Mahogany, that's a different story. Now you have 2 guys out on an edge that a defense is definitely going to isolate. I would expect Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen to attack Manu and Mahogany primarily. I am expecting Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen to attack right now, even if Taylor Decker is in the game, to attack the center of this offense. So what does that mean? Let them run at you through the center all day. I need to see Jared on some rollouts. I need to see him in shotgun and rolling out to the right a little bit, peppering that ball and getting Jahmyr Gibbs from the slot into the flat, catching a football on the run, and riding that sideline, 10, 12, 17 yards every time. You do that enough times, they're going to stop rushing you through the middle. And when they stop rushing you through the middle and they don't stack it up, now you're going to send Gibbs up through the middle. So you have to play the cat and mouse game, Morton. You can't get in and get just too comfortable with what you think is going to work. You have to react to what they're doing. And so I'm hoping and I'm expecting that John Morton has that game plan dialed up. On the other side of the ball, for the defense, what worked well against the Bears last week? Well, the Vikings were able to penetrate the center of that offensive line. It was the interior of the defense that was able to get pressure on Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams on the run to his right is not where you want him to go. So when he takes the ball and he gets pressure through the center, if he goes to the right, if you watch, any part of the post game on NFL Pro, if you go back and rewatch some of the plays where you're seeing Caleb, moving around a little bit and rolling out, they had a good plan. They had their backers and everybody kind of in a spy position, but it wasn't just one. It was pretty much all of the guys watching Caleb. And they were playing in this zone technique where they were all moving as one left or right. And that promoted Caleb to have to turn and go the other direction. So when he went to the right and the defense followed them to their left, he had to then turn and go the other way. And then guess who's over there? Right? You're sending a nickel back in or, a safety or a corner, depending on how the offense is set up on the play, someone is going to get free to get after Caleb. You do not want to chase Caleb. You cannot chase him. You have to stay in front of him. There's not a whole lot of guys that are fast enough to catch him from behind. So you have to keep your guys in the right position. So what this tells me is Davenport is not going to be crushing down the defense, right? He's not going to be slanting down to the left. I think he's going to get a little bit more vertical. He's going to try to stack that pocket a little bit. And what I mean by that is you want to get that tackle up into his left, right? Your right, and get him out on the side a little bit. So that way Caleb doesn't have a free opportunity to run that direction. And conversely, on the other side, Aiden Hutchinson really needs to do the same thing. He needs to stack the pocket with the tackle. The minute you crash in, Caleb has a free opportunity on the outside shoulder. So if you bring the leverage up to his left side, Caleb's going to get trapped. And that is where you're expecting Tyleik Williams and Jack Campbell or Derek Barnes, someone to get free through a lane in between our edge defender and Tyleik Williams, right? In that hole. Forgive me, my brain's not working today. It will be the C gap, I guess. That's what I'm expecting, right? And I'm also expecting to see, Jack Campbell and or Brian Branch coming down. We're going to have to be a nickel. I think primarily in this game, it's going to be a lot of nickel. 2 linebackers on the field. I want bigger safeties in the game. That hinges on Kirby's health. If Kirby's not healthy, we have to play zone at that point. I really don't want to see a lot of single high safety in this game. I want to see more 2 safeties, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4. Do not go man on man all the time. You want to do a little bit of pattern matching with the zone and the man. I love that anyway on every play, but especially against a mobile quarterback. If you go man on a mobile quarterback, I feel like we get pressured too much on the defense and we don't make enough plays. If you put a little bit of zone in and you're able to keep these guys in front, I mean, Calvin Shepard kind of said the same thing. He's like, you want to keep everything in front. Same thing that the Packers did. Right? You're keeping everything in front of you. That works. So do it. Right? Don't get stuck into just running man and then blitzing 48% of the time. Stick in a little zone. Make your front 4 win their one-on-ones when they have them. And if they don't have one-on-ones, how else can they affect the play? I'm going to use that quote from Jared Allen all season long. How can you affect the play? Figure it out. It's not always blitzing, man. Sometimes you just got to affect the play by limiting how much they can do. Live to the next down. If you get exposed and they get too many explosives on you, and then you get put on your heels, then the game gets away. So let's limit these explosives. Let's keep everything in front. And let's live to battle on the next play. It may not be a defense that is completely crushing the Bears, right? We may not have 4 or 5 sacks and 8, 9 TFLs and limit them to 50, 60 yards rushing. It may not need to be that kind of a game. The kind of a game that it needs to be is a win. You have to do what you need to win. You can't get overexposed. You just can't. All right, let me dip into the chat now. What do you guys think about the defensive plan this week? Agree, disagree? What would you do differently from last week? 40% of you say that you're very concerned about Decker. 17% say you're very concerned about Kirby. 30% say you're not at all concerned about Kirby. And 13% say you're not at all concerned about Decker. So I know that's kind of a tough poll, but I'm trying to see like where you guys are most concerned here, really, which is Decker and the offensive line. And I would agree. I would agree. I think the offensive line, I said from the very beginning this year, was my biggest weakness headed into the season. Was my biggest weakness for this team. And simply because of experience, right? You lost 2 All-Pros. Think about that. You lost 2 All-Pros from season over season. It's not good. Art Vandalay says, I don't want to see Davenport or Hutch drop into coverage on 3rd down. Hell no. I don't either, man. I don't either. I think that is just a dumb play. There's something that Calvin said, and I can't remember if I put it in this video or not, but he said something about not everyone can be a pass rusher, right? Not everyone has earned the right to rush the passer. Think about that for a moment. Not every player has earned the right to get to 3rd down or the pass rush downs. That is a very valuable statement where they're trusting certain guys, obviously, to be able to rush the passer, number one. Number two, they're only going to put guys in that position that they feel have earned the right. How do you earn the right to rush the passer? What do you guys think that is? I have an idea that I want to share, but what would you say an edge player, right, defensive end, in this scheme for the last 4 seasons, how do they earn the right to rush the passer? While we're waiting on that, Chris Bird says, definitely don't drop Hutch or Davenport into coverage at all. Speed up Caleb with a 4-man or 5-man rush. Run the ball consistency to use play action pass. So you're talking about both sides of the offense and defense. So Chris, yeah, I think that I would love to be able to run the ball effectively to get into the play action. I think that's our bread and butter, right? And this last weekend against the Packers, we couldn't run the ball effectively. And if you can't run the ball effectively, you can't get into play action. Here's my shot for Morton, man. You get on the field in that first series. I want to see J-Mo 50 yards downfield or 40 yards downfield, and I want Jared Goff throwing that ball up top. And the reason why is because the very next play, Dennis Allen's going to be like, whoa, wait a second. We need to bring these guys back a little bit. We need to bring off the pressure a little bit because he's going to be bringing pressure on 1st down. I guarantee it. It's probably going to be a 0 blitz on the first defensive series. That's my call. It's going to be a 0 blitz by Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen. They're all coming. They're all coming because they don't have any confidence in our offensive line. That's why you got to send J-Mo and you toss that ball, man. Go get it. Whether he catches it or not, you need to put the fear of J-Mo in Dennis Allen. And you need to get the ball out quickly. All right? So Jared Goff has to be able to get the ball out quickly. So you want to put them on their heels. You need to back Dennis Allen up a little bit. They know this defense well. They really do. Yeah, no run game. You're going to struggle all game, says Cruz, and I agree. Art Vandalay says, establish the run, score first, control the clock, stop them on 3rd downs, make them make the mistakes. Absolutely. Trace, Monty, pound the D-line into the ground to start. I like that. Please destroy Caleb. Us Bears fans want Bajent. I like the name too. Bajent plus Ben equals Dynasty. Welcome into this morning's pregame show, Chicago Bears, Detroit Lions. You'll find out that we're pretty fun community here. Like, we're not going to sit here and just trash you. If you get us all riled up, then I can't help what they do. But I'm glad that you joined this morning. Rather have 5 throws to J-Mo and only 3 completions. Hey, there you go. Got to trust the coach's decisions, says Greg. That's it. Maybe that's another poll. Let's do that. I think that's a great statement there. Again, who just said that? Greg. Do you trust Dan Campbell? If you're a Bears fan, you can't vote. Just saying. This is not a democracy over here today. Do you trust Dan Campbell? Yes or no? John Doe says, hello, good morning, my extended family. Good morning, John Doe. I think Kevin Barr says, I think Monty had to start tomorrow. Come out, set the tone, pounding the Bears in the mouth. Fly J-Mo on the side, Tesla down the other side. There you go. I'm loving it. 100% of you so far saying yes, you do trust Dan Campbell. It's only 18 votes. Let's get a bunch more votes in. Speaking of Taylor Decker, back when this stuff happened, during the week we started finding out about Taylor Decker, and the issue that he was dealing with was a little bit more understood. Dan Campbell's statement was, well, he's got a little bit of something here, and so we're just trying to buy him some time here where he feels better. And then a lot of it, too, is the luxury of Decker's played a lot of football. And so he'll be ready as long as it feels right. So we feel good right now. And then, there again, we've still got another day here, so we'll see. So I can't give a definitive yes, but it's where it's at. And he did say that, just for the record, the Deck does want to play. And he said that he's going to make that very clear. The Deck wants to play. So this is about the long-term season. And see, what I understand of Dan Campbell, and I should have said this 10 minutes ago when we were talking about Decker, but I forgot. What I understand about Dan Campbell is this clear. This is about the long-term season, is what this is going to come down to, just as far as what we do for this one. That told me enough that Dan doesn't care about the Bears game as far as Decker playing in the Bears game. He cares about week 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You know what I'm saying? He cares about the long-term season. Taylor Decker is the best left tackle we have on this roster right now. Unless somehow Manu wakes up, bumps his head, and becomes a really good left tackle tonight. Or by tomorrow, I mean. Manu has the physical gifts. He does, and he moves well. I just don't think he has it all up in the head just yet. That's just time, right? Time. Like Dan says, time on task. He'll get there. I see Manu as being a very high-quality backup. And a spot starter. I don't see him being a permanent left tackle fixture in the next 2 seasons. That doesn't mean in year 4 or 5 that he can't just get it. He could. But he could be that next Dan Skipper, right, that hangs around for 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons as a high-quality backup, spot starter, and someone that can be your swing tackle. He absolutely can be that. I'm expecting Brad Holmes to do one of 2 things between the deadline and next year's draft. You're either going to go out and trade with a team for their left tackle at the deadline, and it better be a damn good one, or you're going to be drafting a left tackle very early in next year's draft. The only issue with that is if you do pay Aiden Hutchinson, and Aiden does start to have a good season, then that first round pick should probably be spent on the backup or the other side to Aiden. If Davenport has a really good season, he's not making $2 million in 2026. So these are all real world problems the Lions have right now. Every team has it. And I want to make sure that I'm clear with that too, that I don't want to see, and we're going to see it. We see it every year. That Brad should have done this, and Brad should have done that, and Brad made a mistake here, and Brad. Hindsight's 2020, man. If we could live with hindsight 2 days before it happened, man, we'd all be smart, wouldn't we? We'd get the answers to the test. We'd get 100%. But that's what hindsight's always good at. The good people, the good content creators, right? The people in the media that get things right, that tend to have a really good pulse on the team, they're able to tell you things before they happen. They're able to predict with a level of accuracy and shape your mindset before things happen. It's the people that are after the point, after the fact, using hindsight. Anybody can do that. But you can't blame Brad for something that happens with an injury. You can't blame Brad because the Packers, bring in Parsons. Like, that's not Brad's fault. And you can't do anything about an injury, ever. It's never the GM's fault. Unless they keep a guy that's injured consistently, and he's injured consistently from year to year to year to year, right? Then that really is their fault. And that hasn't really happened a whole lot. But with two guys, that the Lions have kind of kept around. Emmanuel Mosley being one of them. Yeah, Trace has a good point. Remember when Will said that the Bears might stretch TA coming off that groin injury? We can do the same to Jalen Johnson. He's also coming off of a groin injury. And I think that's a very good option. Right? You want to put Jalen Johnson in an immediate position of stress. You want him to, you want to run some zigzags on this guy. All right? Some double moves. Get him to flip his hips a couple of times and have to dig and plant. The more and more you do that to somebody coming off of an injury, and I'm not saying that we want them to get re-injured. It's part of the gamesmanship. It's part of the chess that if you're injured, I'm coming at you. Because eventually, either A, that injury is going to creep back up, or B, you're just not ready yet. You haven't had enough snaps. If Jalen Johnson's in the game, he has not played. I mean, as good as he is, he's not going to play well in his first game back. What is it that I always call the first game back for a guy that's been injured or has had a significant injury? There's two things. If it was a season-ending injury, the next season is pretty much a throwaway season, depending on when it happened. They're probably going to play about 65% of their norm. If it's an in-season injury, and they've been down for a couple of weeks, they've already played a few weeks, that first game back is a throwaway game. And that's because they have to get the tempo back underneath their feet, right? They have to hit somebody again. They have to harden their body all over again. So it's kind of a throwaway game. And we've been pretty spot on with those calls, like Justin Jefferson not having a good game back. Jones last year, Jacobs last year not having good games back. You'll see over the test of time here that reigns true more than it doesn't. So we'll see. We'll see how it happens. All right, let's get into some more of your actual your pregame here. We get into the Lions snapshot. Now, we don't have a ton just yet, but your Lions overall, points per game, not great, right? 13. We rank in the bottom 24 of the league. The Chicago Bears, they put up 24 points in their first game. They are tied in the top 10. Yards per game for both teams. The Detroit Lions put up 246 yards in the first game. 246 yards in the first game, which has them in the bottom, what, 1, 2, 3, bottom six of the league. They're 27th worst in the league for yards per game. Chicago at 317 in their first game puts them smack dab in the middle, tied with Denver at 15. Your number one team last week was obviously Buffalo with 497 yards. Red zone efficiency. Well, I don't even know why I want to review this one, but I'm going to. Red zone efficiency. This is for touchdowns only. Your Detroit Lions are, again, bottom 6 of the league, 25%. They scored on 1 of 4 trips to the red zone last week. The Chicago Bears, they are tied for first. Now, I don't know how many red zone attempts that they had, but every time that they were in the red zone, they scored a touchdown. And that's what this metric is. It's touchdowns only. So every time that Chicago was in the red zone, they scored. That's going to be a big challenge for this defense this year, for the Lions in this game. Now, Lions defense on the other side of the football. NFL opponent points per game. The Detroit Lions allowed 27 points in their opening week versus the Green Bay Packers. That, again, has them in the bottom 7 at 25th, tied with Chicago. So both teams' defense allowed 27 points in their opening week. So there's no edge there. Right now, we have the edge going to the Chicago Bears offense in the red zone. And we don't have an edge for points allowed for either defense. Yards allowed per game. The Chicago Bears allowed 254 yards in their opening week versus the Minnesota Vikings. That has them ranked in the top 6 of the NFL, as where the Lions allowed 266 yards of offense to the Packers, has them ranked as a top 10 team. I don't think that there's really much of an edge there with a 12-yard difference between the two teams. So no edge in yards per game allowed on the defense. In passing, so let's break this down a little bit. Passing yards allowed per game. Your Detroit Lions only allowed 188 yards passing. Good enough for top 13 in the league. The Chicago Bears defense allowed 134 yards passing. Good enough for 5th in the league. Obviously, the edge goes to the Bears, and they're going to be getting Jalen Johnson back this weekend. We'll see how that plays out. 134 to 188. Obviously, the Bears have an edge in this game in the passing defense. Let's look at the rushing defense. It could also mean that the Vikings ran the ball a little bit better. The Detroit Lions only allowed 78 yards of rushing, good enough for top 10 in the league. And the Chicago Bears allowed 120. That dropped them to 24th in the league. Obviously, the Lions have a big edge by more than 50 yards. So where the Bears have a little bit of an edge in the passing game, we have an edge in the run game. DeAndre Swift is not going to run for more than 50 yards in this game. I expect Ben Johnson to utilize DeAndre Swift from a perspective of a lot of screen action. That's where I see it going down. And it's something that I don't think that Ben did enough in Detroit. I don't think that he utilized the screen game enough. And this is something that I'm hoping that John Morton is going to do differently this year. But I'm expecting Ben Johnson to do it. And Todd Budry says, 1 week doesn't mean crap. You're absolutely right, man. 1 week doesn't mean anything. And for right now, we're just comparing to compare to kind of see where both of these teams align. And that is why my biggest question to Lions fans after 1 week was, why are we melting down? Like, why are we trashing these guys? Why do we have to be so corrosive and toxic? All it does is put the team in a worse position, right? Davenport said it best, man. You know, you're affecting his family, his kids, his wife, you know, people that are looking at all of the BS that you're putting out there instead of, I mean, there's a couple of different ways you could write. There's a couple of different ways you could do a video. I'm not saying that everything always has to be, you know, perfect sunshine and rainbows. Like, I'm not that way. But I think what we see from a lot of media and a lot of creators is just so negative. It's just, and there's a way that you can frame it to say, look, yeah, we had a bad game and we could do a lot better. Yep, Davenport had a bad game. This is where he failed. This is what he did good. But do we have to go deep into calling people names and making up names? And I mean, I don't understand that. I don't. I think that this country is so divisive as it is. It's a problem right now in this country. We are so divisive as opposed to treating people with some level of respect. These are damn good football players, athletes that are at the peak condition of their life. They've made it somewhere you or me have never made, and I give them a ton of respect for that. NFL team opponent third down conversion percentage. This is going to be a big one in this game. Which team is going to be able to execute at a higher level in third down situations? This was the Lions' bread and butter last season. If we didn't get it on third, we would get it on fourth. And Jared Goff said it best the other day. He said, yeah, we didn't do well in our third down efficiency and conversion rate, but our fourth down was high. You also have to be able to be placed into a good fourth down situation, meaning if you are behind the 50-yard line in your opponent's territory, that's not good, right? You're not going to want to go for a lot of fourth downs there. I say that if you're between the 40s, Dan Campbell's probably going to go for it more times than the next coach. If you're north of the 50, Dan's probably going to go for it way more times than the next coach. If you're beyond the 40, Dan's probably going to go for it 100% of the time, depending on how the game is going, how early it is in the game, and you just really have to feel it out. You know, do you need 3 points? Do you need 7? You know, I think the later calls, they're highly dependent upon how the game is at that point. The earlier calls, I think, is Dan Campbell just feeling it out and trying to understand, like, are we going to be here again? Are we going to have this opportunity again? Are we able to get into the red zone? Have we not been able to get into the red zone? These are all things that I'm sure is rattling around through his head. When the time comes, he's able to make a snap decision. So the opponent third down conversion percentage last week, Chicago operated at a 25% conversion rate against, meaning their opponent, the Vikings, were only able to convert on third down in 25% of attempts. The Lions, not terrible, but they allowed a 40% conversion rate. Good enough to be tied for the 13th best in the league. Really, yeah, 13th. Yeah, 13th best in the league with Tampa and the Jets. Chicago was up in the top 3 at 25%. Still lost the game. How about fourth down conversion? This is going to be another big key to the game because, well, does Ben Johnson have the balls that Dan Campbell does? Or not? We don't know yet. We don't know. Your Detroit Lions on fourth down conversion against 100%. Their defense allowed a fourth down conversion. And again, I don't know how many attempts there were. I don't have that in front of me yet. Chicago Bears did not register a fourth down conversion against because the Vikings didn't go for one. Turnover differential. There was not a whole lot going on here for the Lions. They didn't force any, but they sure gave one up. So they are -1 right now in turnover margin differential. Chicago Bears, they had a pick 6 in that game, I believe. So they are, where's Chicago? Even. So they gave one up, and they got one back. They're even. All right, red zone percentage. This is going to be another key to the game. And again, this is opponent red zone scores per game. We kind of went over this one earlier, but we're going to run it back one more time. The Chicago Bears defense allowed a red zone percentage of, well, 2. They had 2 TDs in red zone scores per game so far. 2 TDs. The Lions in the red zone allowed, I think it was 3. Yeah, the Lions allowed 3. Now, let me just throw this out there. Baltimore allowed 5. Okay, and a lot of people think that Baltimore is a much better football team than the Lions. I'm liking the fact that they allowed 5 TDs in the red zone. If the Lions can fix whatever they needed to fix between week 1 and week 2, I feel a lot better about week 3. All right, let's get into questions and let's open up the phone lines. We have a new phone. So today is really our first test. I didn't test. I said I was going to yesterday. I didn't test. I want to make sure that it's working. Let's see here. All right, phone line should be open here, and it is a new number. I'm hoping that everything works fine. So let's give it a shot. Whoever wants to be the first guinea pig, let me put it in the chat here one more time. So 313 podcast is the number, and that's 726. I should have this remembered by now. But I don't. 763, excuse me. 763-2278. So 313-763-2278. That's the new phone number for the show. Lock it in. As long as everything works well, we'll stick with it. Otherwise, I might have to port the number to a different service. But 313 podcast, and that you can reach us at 313-763-2278. What do you want to talk about this morning? What's on your mind about the Detroit Lions versus the Chicago Bears? What are your keys to the game? What does Dan Campbell have to do differently in this game? And more importantly, are you worried about Ben Johnson getting back, well, at his former mentor in Dan Campbell? And let's talk about that for a moment. How many of you were worried about Sean Payton last year? That was last year, right? That was the year before? That was 2023, the year before. A lot of people were worried about Dan Campbell taking on Sean Payton. This is the reverse. This is now Ben Johnson taking on Dan Campbell, a guy that has been mentoring him for many years and gave Ben the keys to the kingdom to be able to do, what he needed to do to excel his career. We have the reverse option, or the reverse opportunity now, where we won 42-17 in that game. The first quarter was nutted at zeros. And then in the second quarter, the Lions exploded with 21 points. And then another score in the third quarter, going up 28. And then the Denver Broncos put up 10 points in the third quarter. It's 28-10. And the Lions exploded in the fourth quarter, throwing up another 14 to the Broncos 7. 2 years ago. And now we're back at it again with a very similar game. Make sure if you guys want to call this morning, it's 313. Here, let me throw that on the pin. There you go. It's in the chat. I'll pin it. 313-763-2278. We'd love to hear from you right after this quick break. It's game time, Detroit, and you found the right place for the latest Detroit Lions news. So hop on in and take the ride to Super Bowl 60 with Rocked On Detroit Lions. Join Will Rock, Eric Rintamaki, and Riley O'Brien today on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning. All right, 313-763-2278. You can call it. You can text it. Whatever it is that you'd like to share this morning. Yeah, everyone's scared. Y'all are a bunch of sissies. You guys are scared to call in. You can say whatever you want, man. It doesn't bother me one bit. What's the national media saying about this game? I haven't looked that up yet. I was going to right now. Pressure rate is where I want to go to next. So how did the Detroit Lions do last week on pressure rate? NFL Pro, erased all of the stats. All right, let's see if this works here. All right, you should be on the line with Rocked On Detroit Lions. Who's calling this morning? Uh-oh, can you not hear me? Are you there? Hold on. I don't know why you can't hear it. Call back. Give me 2 minutes. Call back. Could you guys hear anything? I didn't hear anything. All right, let me see if I need to connect this a different way. That's on. That's on. Yeah, I couldn't hear anything either, and I don't know why. It's connected through Bluetooth. It shouldn't even have rang on this. Let me try to call it. Yeah, that's not good. It's not going to the Bluetooth. Okay. Let's do it a different way. 1 sec. We'll go back to the old phone number for today. All right. So scratch that phone number for the day. Sorry, give me 1 sec. Here, we'll be right back after this. Just give me just 1 minute.
Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people shattering the NFL record.
moto,
Evolution. This is the future. Evolution.
All right. The new line should be working now, or the old line. Here we go. Rockdown Detroit Lions. Who do I got on the line?
Hey, Will, it's Honor You of I'm Dead.
What's happening, Buck? How you doing?
Not bad. Just got back from fishing a while ago.
Fishing? What you fishing for, man? It's fall time. You doing some coho or some steelhead? What are you doing?
Salmon and steelhead.
There you go. Did you get any luck today, man?
3 on, all busted loose.
Oh, well, I guess better luck next time, man. So, since you're talking fishing real quick, I got to ask, when you do catch one and you bring it home and you cook it up, what's your favorite way of cooking, that nice salmon meat up?
Baked on a cedar plank with honey and some capers on top.
There you go, man. That sounds good. I hate fish I always say I dislike fish unless it's rare or raw. And that's just how I am. I can eat some bluegill. I can eat some walleye. Other than that, you got to send me to the ocean.
I hear you.
So what's on your mind today, man? We had a tough first week. What is it that is most concerning to you?
Well, obviously the missed assignments on the O-line, and Mr. Morton said things were fixed. And I think it goes a little bit more than beyond just saying it's fixed. What's the ability of them to actually execute the plan, to execute their assignments that they plainly missed quite a bit last week. Saying it's fixed, saying, hey, you should have covered this. Okay, yep, now I get it. To being able to actually do it, there's a difference to me there.
Okay. So you're questioning on whether John Morton can actually get these things fixed. The one thing that I want to get your take on this too is John Morton is so calm and not fiery, right? Not getting all rowdy like Shep does. Do you think that there's any issue with that? Does that take anything away from his seriousness, I guess, or the focus of the ability to get it done?
It seems that younger players seem to react to the more aggressive, high-end, the hyperness of like Calvin Shepard and what Aaron Glenn had to offer. They just seemed more to respond more. Morton is my age, and he's monotone.
Yeah.
And there's no excitement there. And if the coach isn't excited or it isn't showing
Emotion.
urgency,
Yeah.
the emotion, there you go. I really see it hard for these younger players to be like, well, coach is kind of boring, and how serious is he? Because he's not even, raising his voice or, his energy level just isn't there. Usually high energy shows importance.
Yeah.
And to me, it's not there. And I'm hoping that these guys, they might have been able to be told, here's your blocking assignment in this situation, or here's what you need to do. Are they actually going to be able to execute? Is their heart going to be in it? Because Morton doesn't seem like he's got that fire.
Yeah. So let me respond to that for a moment. And again, it's not a personal thing between you and I. This is just my opinion. Like if you think about, and I can't use the analogy that I want to use, but like there's some pretty deranged people out in this world, right? And it just seems like the more deranged they are, the more calm they are. You know what I'm saying? Like they could be some real vicious people underneath that skin, but you wouldn't know it because they're so calm. And I know it's a terrible analogy. It's a bad example, but I don't know how else to say. I've seen Morton in practice, and he's not the same monotone, lazy. He's fiery, and he has some edge to him. I think he's just different in front of people, and I think he's different at the press box. I'm sorry, at the press conference. I think he's just a little bit different energy from the other guys. Shep obviously has had enough, right? And obviously Dan Campbell has had enough of the media and everybody else online saying all the crap that they're saying. Not that they spend a whole lot of time, you know, but to your point earlier, can the Lions get it fixed in a week? And that is a big concern for a lot of Lions fans is how are you going to roll from one week looking that bad to the next week you're hoping to look like a brand new team?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say
Absolutely.
that is a very valid, very, very valid concern. And I do believe it's one that they can get fixed simply because of this. They have the experience. They have the leaders, not only from the coaching staff, but the continuity with Jared Goff and some of the offensive linemen and the rest of the offensive weapons on that team. I think that we have more continuity that can help bridge, you know, from week to week to get some things fixed. But more importantly, they have to remove, like Morton said, I think the biggest thing that maybe a lot of us missed is that they had some things in that they probably shouldn't have had in because they didn't either spend enough time on it or it caused more confusion, you know, when you're in a loud environment and there were things that they couldn't execute because of a lack of communication. In some of those plays, there was zero communication on. So I understand that part too, that if he takes those away and you focus on the things that they were doing well, maybe it's a different outcome. But you know what? Tomorrow's we're going to see. What else did you want to add? Anything else?
Yeah, there was another part during his press conference that he made the comment that we have to take what the offense or what the defense gives us. And I completely disagree with that. I played Division II ball, and our coach was, we're going to take it. We're not going to sit there and just take what they give us. We're going to take what we want. We're going to make it happen. So to me, it just seemed that the aggressiveness, it was going up more passive of, well, you know, if the defense is leaving holes, this is where we're going to go. Rather than, no, we got the players, we're going to make the holes, we're going to make the plays. That was my only other critique was, I guess it's coaching philosophy.
I get you. I get you there. I think that there's two explanations for it. If that was the last, I'll take the route. I'll answer it off air, and then we'll try to get another caller in.
All right, that's it, man.
Have a good day, brother.
Thanks, Will. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so I think that there's two philosophies to what he's talking about with philosophy, right? It's take what the defense gives you, take what the defense doesn't. And he makes a very good point that instead of having the philosophy of we're going to just take what they give us, as opposed to we're just going to go take what we want. I think there's two valuable ways to go about that during the game. Number one, if the defense is giving you something that you didn't expect, or if the defense is not doing something to prohibit you from running a certain route, running certain plays, and you have a higher win probability, you're going to take what the defense gives you there, right? If they're giving you the 7-yard out route, take it. If they're giving you an 11-yard in route, take it, right? If they're not giving you certain things, well, you have to figure out a way to beat that. And I think that's, to his point, is you just need to take what you want when you need it. And I agree with that too. And I think that both I think that both philosophies work. And I think that what Morton is trying to give us is we need to do a better job at identifying and taking what the defense is doing wrong, where they're not covering us. There's no way that they had every inch of the field covered. We have to diagnose that, figure it out, and get after it. So for me, I get it. I agree with both of those statements, both of those philosophies. Take what they give you and then take a little bit more that they're not. I love it. And that's the MO of this offense anyway. It always has been. Our offensive line dictated what the defense was going to do. That's not the offensive line we have right now, at least after week 1. Don't know what we're going to have after week 2, 3, 4, or 5. If this offensive line can prove that they're the same offensive line or can do some of the same things that the offensive line did before, then I think that we will take a lot more. The most important thing is take what they give you in the beginning, and maybe will help to open up some things, to where you can then dictate the message to the defense. Hey, we're coming. We're taking whatever we want. So I agree with both. There was another caller that called in. I apologize. I couldn't get to it right away. I know there's a short delay here, but let's just kind of wait until we get everyone off the line, and then you can call back in. So if you're still available and you're still able to call in, feel free. The 313-312-0348. We're going to use that line today. I'll fix this other catastrophic issue with this other phone here. Probably by today. It'll be ready to go for the post-game show tomorrow. So if you have a chance, I think it was Brent that might have called in. I don't have everybody's numbers saved. But anyway, you tell me, what do you guys think? Do you think that John Morton's philosophy is wrong in part or wrong completely? Do you think that we should just be from the mindset that we just take whatever we want? I guess let me throw this at you too. And by the way, I call U of M Dad Buck just because it's an inside joke. But anyway, U of M Dad, thank you. Thank you for calling in. I would say that if you try to be too rigid, too aggressive, for instance, I think that John Morton did exactly that in week 1. John Morton was saying, you know what? I'm going to hand the ball off 8 times to Gibbs to start the game. I'm going to give the ball to Gibbs every single play to start the game. I think that he was trying to force the issue of we're going to take whatever we want. We're going to do whatever we want. And it didn't work. And I think that that's the point where you realize, well, what did they give us? What else was open? And I think I understand, what he was trying to do was simply you're putting an emphasis on forcing the defense to do what you want them to do so that it does open up the play action. So it does open up other opportunities for the offense. It just didn't work. It didn't work at all. But we missed opportunities by staying so rigid and staying, it was too predictive for me. If you're going to hand the ball off that many times and only use one player that many times, I get it. You're trying to do what this offense has done in the past, which is just put the ball down their throat. The other side to that is the defense was that good that they were not allowing any of our receivers to be open. And so that's where I would question, okay, if 11 personnel is not working for you and you're trying to have 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a running back out there, maybe you need to go to 12 personnel. Maybe you need to put 2 tight ends out there. Maybe you need to have an extra blocker on the line. Maybe you need to bring in a 6th offensive tackle. And even out of that scheme, a lot of defenses are going to say, okay, you're going to run the ball. You can still pass the ball. Because we have viable threats in Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta that can get open. And Jahmyr Gibbs behind the line. So maybe you do a little bit more of 12 personnel this year. And you're still going to have the same effectiveness, in my opinion. But we just don't know what we don't know until we see it tomorrow. All right? We'll see. We'll see. There you go. U of M Dad says, taking what you want must have the ability of the players to execute the play. I think that's a great Great statement, man. All right, how we doing on likes this morning? Looks like 52-49. We'll kill some ads for the rest of the day. We'll dial it all the way back. We won't be on too much longer. Probably give it, I don't know, another 15, 20 minutes or so. I'd like to take some more phone calls if you guys would like to call in, 313-312-0348. What has you most motivated about tomorrow and the Chicago Bears? What has you most motivated about tomorrow and the Chicago Bears? Right after this. It's game time, Detroit. And you found the right place for the latest Detroit Lions news. So hop on in and take the ride to Super Bowl 60 with Rocked On Detroit Lions. Join Will Rock, Eric Rintamaki, and Riley O'Brien today on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning. Yeah, sorry about that. So when I get back tomorrow night, the post-game show should be Riley and I around 8 p.m.-ish Eastern Standard Time. The issue with trying to do this on the road is never easy, especially if I try to just do it from my phone in the car. It's hard because you go in and out of service. And I'd rather be able to sit in this seat and be able to have a really good conversation and go through the stats and analytics and everything else that we can have an opportunity to kind of digest. Obviously, we're hoping it's going to be a win, and we're going to have plenty to talk about. Do me a favor. Mike P said you tried to call in, and it said not available. Make sure that you're calling the old number, Mike. I don't see anything on the new number or the old number where you called in. I kept hanging up the other phone because the other phone wasn't working. So call the 313-312-0348. That's the number to call for today. I'll make sure I get the other one fixed. I don't know why the Bluetooth is not working. I hate to use the Bluetooth. There we go. Now we got a caller on the line. Who is it?
It's me, Mike Paul. How you doing?
Hey, you doing good, Mikey P, man. What has you most excited about tomorrow or most concerned?
Most concerned is obviously the play of our offensive line, the interior part of our offensive line. Basically, I think that it's going to take a few more games before they really get in sync with each other. And I would rather see them go to a zone type scheme until they get their timing and their communication skills as far as in line as a unit. I'd rather see them go that route for a while. And I know it's not that much more difficult to switch over, but that's my take on the offensive line. And the defensive line is, like I spoke to you about the other night. I think the situation there is we have to get a bigger push in the middle of our defensive line. I think that that is a strength. We constantly are concerned about the outside, and I will tell you that Ben Johnson is going to run off tackle all game long, and that concerns me right now.
Okay, so Mike, let's talk about that for just a moment, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The first 2 points, number one, offensive line, you'd rather see us go to the zone blocking scheme until they can figure out the communication. I think that makes sense. I mean, the inside-outside zone blocking scheme, it's not necessarily easier, but I think
No,
that,
no, but it's easier to communicate.
yes,
The
absolutely.
rules.
Absolutely. I agree with that. On the defensive side, I thought that I heard you say something about the edge, but I don't know if I heard it correctly. Would you mind repeating kind of just a little bit about what you said there? And then you also said Ben Johnson, you expect him to run outside off the tackle all game long, which I do agree with that too. And I want to come back to that.
Well, when I say the emphasis, I'm not sure that necessarily that Shift is doing that, But what I'm talking about is we as fans, we look at it and we say, the edge. Well, if you're literally so concentrated on the edge, you're not watching the real part of the game that's affecting our ability to get to that outside pressure that they think we just keep thinking because we're playing games inside, and what basically happens is our guys are so concentrated on hitting the apex of where the quarterback and the handoff is taking place, rather than worrying about what happens when they get on your outside shoulder and you're getting your butt kicked outside. I mean, that's just me. I mean, so what happens with Hutch is he if you don't know, very seldom does he get his pressure from the outside. He gets pushed outside and he just keeps going outside, and then they caught up underneath him.
Mm-hmm.
Now where you take Davenport, they ain't pushing him anywhere. I mean, he does. You're not going to get the same type of pressure from him. You're going to get that crushing bull rush pressure that you're going to get on a quarterback, and Caleb may be able to. The contain on that side is going to be the ability to them not being able to push Caleb around. Where on the other side, Caleb's going to be able to escape Hutch only because he can be steered in what direction he's going with his pressure. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. Let me try to
ahead.
clarify that a little bit. So what Mike is sharing here is the difference between the pressure with Aiden on the outside is that Aiden has a tendency to get steered by the tackle. So when Aiden starts to get steered on the outside, he continues his path to the outside, which allows him to get too vertical, like he's getting too deep behind the pocket. And then that's where Caleb Williams is going to crash right down on the inside on what would be Aiden's right shoulder, and then he's going to find that hole, and he's going to get to the pay dirt with it or make us hurt. On the other side, with Marcus Davenport, with how heavy and strong he is, you don't really see him getting pushed around a whole lot. He doesn't get bullied a whole lot. He's got a power bull rush that is very hard to maintain from a tackle's perspective. You're going to see, I think, more double teams on his side simply because that crushing style of edge pressure that he brings, that will force Caleb off of his spot. Whereas Aiden, when he gets outside, he has to do a spin move to then turn and get back inside to then get pressure on the quarterback, which by then he could already be gone. So I like both analogies or both statements there about both edge. And so what is the key to this, Mike? I mean, for me, the key would be contain. Don't worry about getting so many sacks with on the quarterback with the edge, but try to contain and then utilize that leverage of maintaining Caleb inside the pocket to send a linebacker or a nickel blitz or maybe even a safety if you have a free safety that's able to get up inside the box and free fire. But that's where I want to see the pressure come from. The inside pressure would be great if Tyleek and DJ Reader could get home, but I think it's unlikely for DJ. He's going to get double teamed. Tyleek might be the guy that gets a little bit, more action, if you will, on Caleb inside the offensive line. So I guess what would you say the key would be then if we don't try to put too much pressure on Caleb from the outside? Where do you go next?
I'm gonna be real simple. I'm gonna do what I will do, but I'm not sure the rest of them will. I'm gonna kick up the hornet's nest real quick. I don't give a whoop if they get a sack or not. I don't care if they get one sack all game. It doesn't matter to me that our defense, that I could care less. What I want to make sure is that you bottle up the middle of the passing lanes, and I want to make darn sure that you do not allow them offensively to run off tackle, because I don't think they can run straight up the middle. I don't see Swift being able to run up the middle on our defensive tackles. So the pin and our linebackers. I mean, with Big Jack in there, Swifty would have a little bit of trouble. But in off tackle, oh yeah, I can see him killing us off tackle. That's exactly how Philadelphia, when we played Philadelphia, they killed us. They killed us off tackle because we don't. When I know it's a popular thing to say, okay, we're going to get sacks. We're going to get sacks. My argument has always been, you show me how many of the Super Bowl winners in the last 15 years had the sack leader on their damn team. I mean, I'm sorry, guys, but you put way too much emphasis on the glory of, the glory is an exciting thing. You know, the sack's exciting and everybody gets excited, gets the crowd excited. How many games does it win? That's what I want to know. I don't care how many sacks you get. The only thing a sack will do is, I want to see if we get a sack, it's a cover sack.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are the sacks that are important to me, because that means that our corners, our safeties, our perimeter and all, the whole perimeter is doing their job, and we aren't allowing the quarterback to escape because we have people who are not chasing his butt around to try and run. We bottled him up.
Right.
We overcommit, and that's where the Mahomes and the Fields. I mean, let's be honest. Let's look at Chicago. The last umpteen years that we played Chicago when they had Fields. Fields run 200 yards, blah, blah, blah. They didn't beat us, but he ran all over us.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason he ran all over us is because we were too busy chasing his butt.
Yeah, no, I think they're all great points, Mike, and you know how I feel about sacks. I think that.
Yeah, that's why I said I knew I'd pick up the horn and nest on everybody else.
Yeah, no, it's good. No, I think that you're right in line with how I see the game, you know, operating too, and what we need to do to win. I appreciate the call. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, buddy. You know me. I don't usually get on here. I like to listen.
No, but see, your old coach mind though. It's needed. It's a breath of fresh air. It truly is to hear an old coach speak. So I appreciate you, Mike. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Will. You do a great job, buddy. Don't quit doing it. You hear me?
You know it, man. I'm here.
All right, buddy. Later.
All right,
Bye-bye.
we'll see you. Mike P, man. Look, former coach knows his stuff, right? He's been watching the Lions a long time, and he makes some very valid points that are not. Look, these are not points that your Lions fan base wants to hear. Your Lions fan base, a large portion of them want to hear we need 50 sacks a game. You know, Hutch needs to have 20 sacks a year. Look, if you want him to hold up his individual award at the end of the year, great. I don't. I want him to hold up a Lombardi. I could care less about being a sack leader. I could care less about getting 5 sacks in a game unless you win the game. Because we've had multiple sack games by Aiden that they have not won the game. What I think Mike is trying to explain to everybody is when your focus and energy is just trying to get a sack, you can get in trouble. When your focus and energy, yeah, there you go. Stain Vision says sacks are fun to watch. That's why they want sacks. They're fun to watch. They are fun to watch. But you know what else is fun to watch too? When you've got that offense trapped and smothered and they can't go anywhere. When you see an entire defensive line just go and it's over. And at that point, it's kind of whoever touched them first, right? Tag, you're it. Gets the sack. Right? You get the credit because you touched them first. Those are the kinds of sacks I want to see because I want to see that defensive line swarming. I haven't used this term in a while. And I don't know why. but it's the hive technique. It's what I used to coach. When I coached the kids, man, it was you want to swarm like a bunch of bees, man. That's what you want to do. You want to work together as one. You want to work together as a hive, and then you want to get after the quarterback the same way. If everybody can work together and work in unison, I'm doing my job, he's doing his job, they're doing their job together, we will do our job as a unit, right? And then you got 3 different units all working in unison. Well, Mike P said about coverage sacks, which I know that there's some people out there that say coverage sacks are no good. Like that's not going to help you win. That's exactly how the Eagles won. They had enough coverage on the back end that you couldn't get the ball out. Exactly what just happened to us in week 1 versus the Packers. Why do you think that happened? Jared couldn't get the ball out downfield. He had to dump everything underneath. And if you control a quarterback from that perspective, that they can't get the ball out, they have no release, they have no valve, no release valve to get that ball downfield, and they've got to dunk it underneath every time, you're winning. You're forcing them to stay close to the line of scrimmage. But more importantly, if your back end, your secondary is able to hold, without getting a penalty, you know what I mean? They're able to hold those receivers, well, then your defensive line can get home. But if you're just trying to send your ends to get sacks on every play, all it takes is Aiden to get steered a little bit to the outside. Caleb's going to find a hole. And why is he going to find that hole? Because Tyleek's going, DJ's going, Marcus is going. All 4 of those guys are on the inside now. And so you've got this huge gap between the first line of defense and now your linebackers. But if they sent, Kraft going the other way, right? And Jack's going this way, and they sent Swift going out of the backfield up towards the seam, right? Now you've got Derek Barnes going that way. And then you got Odunze on the outside, and he's flying north on a post route. That whole flat zone is wide open for Caleb Williams. And once he gets out there, he's gone. He's gone for a first down every time. You can't just sell out every single time to try to get a sack. You need to try to win with 4, right? That should be the goal. You need to try to contain with 2 on the outside. But more importantly, you need to follow, right? You if Aiden is going to get pressure and leverage on the outside, you need to follow Aiden with someone that's going to get the sack. You can't leave that hole exposed. When you watch Aiden, you'll watch now. When you pay attention to the game tomorrow, unless Aiden is directed to stay put, watch how many times he gets steered out to his right and he starts to get vertical to the passing lanes. He starts to get vertical behind the box. That is not where you want to be. That's why he does a spin move to get back in. And when you do that spin move and you take that quarter of a second away, that quarter of a second is either the ball's gone or that quarter of a second is now he's running, inside that lane and he's gone. So I like how Mike P, I guess we think a lot alike. Like, I don't know Mike P other than he's been a big part of the show. He's been around for a long time. He's one of the mods. We met at one of the events for the Lions, and he's just a good, wholesome dude, man. And he knows football. So that's how we have a similar mindset here is my goal has always been playing with a hive defense. And we didn't see that last week. I think that we had too much independent stuff going on. Hutch was trying to figure himself out, right? He hasn't played in a while. He's trying to figure himself out. And Davenport trying to figure himself out, right? He's coming back from an injury too. This is real first game action for them outside of some practices and some scrimmages. Branch played a really good game. Amik played a really good game. Terry and Arnold and DJ Reed didn't. And that is why our defensive line were not able to get as much pressure on Jordan Love. But they didn't allow him out of the box. And if you go back and watch the tape, which I did, and we didn't have an opportunity to do members only, if I get a chance today, maybe I'll queue it up. But if you go back and look, you'll see where they tried not to overextend the end. Hutch was dropping back. Davenport was dropping back. I don't necessarily want them in coverage downfield. However, I do like them sitting in that zone, containing. which will not allow Caleb or anybody else to get free. But if you need to get overall pressure on the quarterback and you're not able to contain downfield, you do have to send a linebacker. You're going to have to send somebody. I wouldn't even be surprised if we go with 3 down linemen and bring in, a 4 linebacker set, 3-4 defense, and get 2 linebackers on the outside with a little bit more speed, and maybe hutch to one side, and you get after the quarterback that way. As long as you have somebody spying Caleb, it's not a big deal. And what sucks is Aaron Glenn always said he didn't like the spy. I always say chest forward, man. You got to have somebody with a chest forward to the quarterback. If you don't, and all of your backs are flipped and running downfield trying to cover, he's going to see that, and he's going to take off. Somebody has to be front face to Caleb. They got to have their chest forward. But these are all things that can be fixed. These are all things that I think that Kelvin Shepherd is going to do. The video coming out in a little bit, you're going to hear him make a statement where he talks about Dan Campbell saying, I'm not going to give you this because I know that's what you're going to spend all of your time on. And I know that's how you're going to create the defense. Well, Calvin did it anyway. Because if you go back and look at week 1, you'll see how much of an emphasis he was trying to put on the linebackers. This week, I need to see an emphasis put on the nickelback and Brian Branch. That's what I need to see. I need to see Brian Branch getting after the quarterback this week at times. It doesn't have to be every play, right? It might only be 2 or 3 plays an entire game. Get the TFLs, man. Drop these guys behind the line of scrimmage in the run game. That is huge. You stop them there. And I like what Mike P said about running to the outside. That is Ben Johnson's MO is outside zone, especially with a speed back. They don't have 2 backs like we do. They don't have a power runner and a speed runner. They have Swift. And that's really it. They have Swift. So you know that he's going to try to run to the outside. Shut it down. How do you do that? Keep your ends on the outside. Now, what happens outside the end is not necessarily the end's responsibility. That is where your nickelback and your safety needs to be able to, to read and react to what's coming next. All right, let's call our shots. Sacks will absolutely fluster Caleb, Mr. Phillips. They will absolutely fluster Caleb. They will. And we've seen Caleb have some difficulty taking some hits and not wanting to get off the ground. He almost had to peel him up with a pizza spatula. But at the same time, it's not that we don't want sacks. It's don't focus on sacks. Focus on contain, do your job. The sacks will come. They will always come. Because if you're able to contain and they can't do anything and they can't get the ball downfield, unfortunately, most sacks today happen at 3 seconds. They do. The large majority are 3 seconds. That's a long time in the NFL on each play. I've said this before too. Years ago, PFF or whomever, the pressure rate was 2.25 seconds. That's what consisted of a pressure. Jared Allen, one of the videos that I highlighted this year, he said the same thing. If you're not able to affect that quarterback in 2.25 seconds, it's over. You have to go to, plan B. How do I do something different? How do I affect the play? Under 2.25 seconds, if you're not able to get to the quarterback, that quarterback has plenty of time to get to his third progression by 2.35 seconds. Plenty of time. Because it's bang, 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 and the ball's out. I know it doesn't seem like a lot of time, but it is plenty of time for the quarterback to get that ball out. Jared Goff, 2.6 seconds is his average. There's been games that he's getting the ball out in 2.4, 2.48 seconds. And if Jared Goff can do it, as much of a herky-jerky, kind of a long wind-up that he has, he doesn't have that crazy quick release. Caleb has a much quicker release. Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, these guys have a very quick release. So at 2.3 seconds, that ball can be out in a hurry. With Jared at 2.6 seconds, that ball's coming out in a hurry. There's a big difference. So 2.25, it used to be the pressure rate. Now it's 2.5. Why is that? Because in today's NFL, your right tackle is just as good as your left tackle on most teams. Before, the emphasis was left tackle only, the blind side to the quarterback. Today, the focus is the right tackle, front-sided pressure. The back-sided pressure should always be taken care of with your left tackle. So now when you have teams that are focusing on the outside, trying to limit what the edge do, that is why I don't focus on the edge. It's not because I dislike Aiden. It's not because I dislike the edge position. It's because offenses are now built to maintain outside edge pressure. And offenses have always struggled against inside pressure. That has never changed. Ever. That's why players like Ndamukong Suh and Chris Jones and plenty of others are so effective against quarterbacks, because that inside pressure is what gets them to move off their spot. It's not the outside pressure. When you take a 3-step drop, your 4-step or 5-step drop, you're not dropping to the right. You're not dropping to the left. You're dropping straight back. So outside pressure takes a little bit longer to get there. Inside pressure is the fastest lane to the quarterback. So it's inside pressure that moves these quarterbacks off their spot. That is why I'd rather see a better interior defensive tackle, and I'm glad that we picked up Tyleik Williams, because not only is he a big dude at 330 pounds and he can move a pocket, but he's also nimble enough and fast enough. He moves different to be able to get after the quarterback when needed. But at the end of the day, man, let's get these TFLs this weekend, right? Let's get these guys dropped on their heels as quickly as possible. And our DBs have to play a much better game. DJ Reed did not play well at all. And I did not expect that from him. I hope that he was the right pickup. And I'm not going to worry after 1 week. There was a lot of miscommunications on defense too. And yes, Kelvin Shepherd, you're going to have to dial up a better game plan. Make it a little bit easier. I think the guys will play better. You put too much crap in, sometimes you just get crap out. Oh, I remember when Deuce Staley was yelling at Swift. Absolutely. And the biggest thing that they kept saying about Swift is that he was soft. He would just run out of bounds instead of putting a shoulder into somebody and fighting for that extra yard or two. I understand Swift's part of it. He didn't want to get injured, right? He was injured all the time. I question how much he was even injured. I just don't think he wanted to play for the Lions. I think that was his issue. Jared's release time from this past weekend, Maureen, is that what you're asking? I have all those stats right here. Just give me 1 sec. Built this new sheet that I have all the links that'll go to every single stat that we need. So if there's a stat that you're looking for, I probably have it dialed up. I just got to get to it on the sheet. Let me bring up NFL Pro here. Time to throw last week for, what is this? Team defensive stats. Time to throw against the Lions last week, 2.96 seconds. That is what they allowed last week. Let me bring up Jared Goff. Jared Goff in week 1. Where's 2025? This might be the only stat that I didn't have on a quick link. It's interesting. I don't know why that is. I need to go to week 1. It's not letting me go to week 1. Teams, insights. No. Week 1. There we go. There's week 1. Maybe not. Let's see if they have the stats back in because they erased them for some reason. And I have not looked. They're gone. All the stats are gone. Still. Box score is there. Box score play-by-play is there. The pro preview is still there. But the actual stats of the game, which had time to throw and everything else, is gone. I don't know what happened to it. There's got to be a different way to look it up. There has to be. Let me just go in here and see. No, these stats are gone too. I don't understand why they would do this. Let me go to passing. And let me go to Jared Goff this way. See if I can get it this way. Yeah, they're all gone. I really don't understand why the hell they would want to take out all of these stats. That makes no sense to me. All right, I know his time to throw last week I think was right around 2.7, somewhere in that range. And so if they've changed it, I see another stat is saying 3.09. He had all day, right? Is what you would think, but everyone was covered. Interesting. I don't know why they took the stats out, but I'm going to have to, tomorrow, I'm going to have to screenshot everything so that I have it so we don't lose it. All right, let me get into a couple of other things that I wanted to share, and then we're going to get into the insights, and we're going to do our calls of the game. I got a little ahead of myself there. So team defensive stats, we allowed a time to throw of 2.96 on defense. And that was 2024. 2025 stats are gone. Gotta love it. All right, pressure rate. Pressure's allowed. This would be your offensive line pass blocking efficiency. So when we're looking from an efficiency rating, where did the Lions offensive line rank? Well, I think a lot of us, might understand the Lions did not look good. 81.4 efficiency rating. They ranked 23rd in the NFL, but guess who ranked 32nd? The Bears offensive line. They went out and spent a ton of money on bringing in 3 guys this weekend. This year, Joe Thuney, Jonah Jackson, and Drew Dahlman, which Drew Dahlman, one of the better centers in the league, they had a 77.3 efficiency rating. And what I noticed was a large breakdown on the interior of the offensive line for the Bears, and that is where the Vikings, Hargrave and what's the other dude's name? Hargrave and whomever, the other dude, the other tackle, I can't remember his name right now, were able to dial up 6 pressures going through the middle, and I think they had 2 sacks or 2 sacks apiece or 2 sacks total through the interior of that Chicago offense. So I'm expecting the Lions to dial up their pressure on the inside, not so much on the outside this weekend. That doesn't mean that Hutch won't get after him. But I would say that you'd have more of an opportunity to go from the inside out. They're going to double the outside. They're not going to allow Davenport or Aiden to be free. There's going to be a constant double or a single and a chip on the outside all game long. Someone's going to be doubled on every play. So that means you need to take advantage of that and go through the interior. Man, I don't know why they took all these stats away. Like nothing is here. Every time I go to a new screen, hoping it's going to be there, it's gone. Let's go to ESPN then. So ESPN team win rates. Here's what you're looking at. I'll start from the top. On the edge, pass rush win rate for week 1. For week 1. All right, what week was this? January 7, 2025. This is not the right one. Has to be the right one. Okay, I'm going to bag that one now. That says 2024. There we go. All right, here's the new one for the year. In week 1, pass rush win rate rankings. I don't see anybody for the Lions on this list. And I don't see anybody from Chicago on this list. So advantage, nobody. Defensive tackle, pass rush win rate rankings. That is so hard to say. I do not see anybody for Chicago or Detroit on this list. Interestingly enough, though, Carl Brooks, the guy that I did want Brad Holmes to draft, is ranked number 3 defensive tackle. He is somebody that I wanted the Lions to get right away. John Hargrave, he's listed at number 7 with a 15% win rate. And who else is in here from the NFC North? So Carl Brooks and John Hargrave. Those are the 2 NFC North guys that are in this list. Nobody from Chicago, nobody from Detroit. Offensive tackle, pass block win rate. This is where we did the best, man. We made this list every single week. Taylor Decker somehow finished as the 8th or 7th best. He had 17 wins on 17 plays. I don't really know how accurate that is, because that's not what I saw. But hey, it is what it is. We'll leave it there. Nobody from Chicago made the list. Interior pass block win rate. Nobody from the Lions. Nobody from Chicago. Well, no, I take that back. Joe Tooney made the list, 69%. So 27 wins, 27 plays. His pass block win rate was 100%. What is this stat? GCDTR. I'm not sure what that rate is. So Joe Tooney was the best offensive lineman for the Bears last week. Edge run stop win rates on the edge. Aiden Hutchinson was 8 wins on 18 plays, 44% run stop win rate, and he was 11% off the edge. 11% is not good. Which that doesn't make any sense to me. And here's why. Aiden did not get credited with any stops, stuffs, or tackles. Period. So how is he ranked in the edge run stop win rate rankings if he did not have one stat? Period. Defensive tackle run stop win rate. No Lion, no Chicago Bear. Offensive tackle run block win rate. No Lions, no Bears. Interior offensive line run block win rate. No Lions, no Bears. overall as a team, the NFL team win rate in the rankings. Your Chicago Bears were a 12% pass block win rate. They ranked 32nd. They were 24th in the run, 22nd in the pass block win rate, and 11th in the run block win rate. The Detroit Lions ranked across the board pass rush win rate 26th, run stop win rate 22nd, pass block win rate 8th, and run block win rate 23rd. That clearly tells you where we did not play well. We didn't do well in the run game. Clearly, we couldn't do anything to block against it. So, I don't know who this Brandon Hurt dude is. What is he talking about? Camera, musician, something? No idea what that is. Clearly they handled that. I'm stuck. There we go. All right, calls of the game. What do you guys have? Wins, losses, and points scored, as well as who are you going to be your players of the game this week? I think the Lions come out of the gates big this weekend. I really do. I don't think that this is going to be as tight of a game. I think the Lions will win. No, let me say that again. I know that the Lions will win. The question is going to be how much. What are the Lions going to be able to do to stop Ben Johnson? Right? This is where the rubber meets the road. Is Ben Johnson as good of a play caller as you think he is? Did he do anything in week one that would say that he really is? I don't have that answer. I don't think so. But I don't have that full answer yet. I think it's going to take a few weeks to see if Ben Johnson is the play caller and coach that many think that he is. I think he looked cool, calm, and collected on the sideline. I think he did a good job for his first game. But now you're coming back into a situation that is going to be under a lot of pressure. The fans are going to be against you. And you're coming back to Ford Field where you launched your career. I think the Lions are going to take advantage of that. What is Velcro? Who's Velcro? Benedict Johnson will stop Benedict Johnson. There you go. I like that. Would love to see Monty get a TD against the Bears, says U of M Dad, 27-20. Aiden shows up. Gibbs gets a tutty. Caleb will stop Benedict Johnson. There, that one's good too. 31-17, says Dale. I'm hoping to see Tesla in this game. I think that the Lions would be naive not to use him. Let's see what the national predictions are. We're going to go to the Bears Wire. The Bears Wire says Lions 24, Bears 17 by Alyssa Barbary. I don't know who these people are. Brendan Shagru says Lions 27, Bears 21. Mike Pendleton says Bears 31, Lions 24. Vinny Paris says Lions 34, Bears 20. Getting closer to my score. And that was it. So those must be some Bears Wire individuals. Maybe they're writers for the Bears Wire. Let's see what the NFL analysts are stating. CBS Sports, Pete Prisco says Lions 30, Bears 17. That one's a little interesting, isn't it? Mike Florio says Lions 27, Bears 23. Chris Sims, Lions 24, Bears 17. Come on, where's my favorite guy? Nick Wright. Where's he at? Has he got a prediction in this week? Can't stand Nick Wright. All right, let's see. What is this? I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is, but I do like this sheet. I'm going to have to save this. You guys check this out. I'm going to throw this into the chat. I just found this thing. I've never seen this website before. Check that out after the show. All right, here's my call for this game. I do believe the Lions win. I'm a little concerned that Taylor Decker may not play. And if that's the case, the Lions are going to have to run heavy to the outside of Penei Sewell. And if that's the case, I do believe that the Bears are going to make that somewhat of a problem, that they're going to probably stack the left line, the left side of the defensive line, and try to take advantage of that. However, that doesn't mean that Gibbs can't run on the inside. But then again, we're talking about Tate Ratledge, who can be a road grader in the run game, and Graham Glasgow, who may not have as much power as we would like out of a center. I do think that Gibbs has a bounce back game, but I don't think it's the bounce back game that we're looking for. I hope that we get him involved in the offensive side, in the pass game a little bit more in this game. And I do believe that that is an answer by John Moore and is utilizing him a little bit more in the screen game. I need to pull up a sheet. So one call for me right now is Gibbs screens. I think that you're going to see more screens from Gibbs in this game. I'm going to put Gibbs plus 65 yards in this game. Monty, I think that he's going to be utilized in the pass game as well. Obviously, I think he's going to be our short down and distance as he is every game. But if the Lions do get in deep into the red zone, talking the 4 or 5 yard line, and they have not scored yet, that is where Monty's going to get his opportunity. I hope that we don't get in deep, unless it is a long run or a long pass that somehow you go out of bounds at the 4, 5, 6 yard line, and then you have an opportunity to score on the next play, and that's where Monty does his business. I do want to see Morton take some shots from the 30-yard line, the 27-yard line, the 25-yard line. Get it into the end zone. That is where, we will see Velcro, as you like to call him, Cybertron, as I like to call him. But Isaac Tesla, I think that you put him and J-Mo and Sam Laporta into that end zone, someone's coming away with a tutty. Monty, I'm going to go... Look, he's going up against his old team, man, and you might see more of a feature with Monty just because of that. We might want to go a little bit heavier with Monty because he is the power back. And until we can give Gibbs an opportunity with the outside zone, it might be more of a power day with Monty kind of running through the middle. So I'm going to go Monty plus 50 yards on the day and 1 TD. He always tries to get a TD against his other team, or his old team. Gibbs, I'm going to go plus 65 yards, and that could be second half. It could be second half yardage for him. But Gibbs in the screen game, I am going to go 1 TD in the pass game for Gibbs in this game. Monty, the 1 TD will be on the ground. There's 14, or at least 12. In the pass game, I think that Jared Goff will not have to throw as much in this game, hopefully. If there's more than 27 attempts I would be surprised. So I'm going to go Jared Goff. (21 of 27). 240 yards. And 2 TDs through the air. No interceptions. You've got a ground game that's going to produce plus 115 on the ground. And 1 TD on the ground, 3 through the air. The Detroit Lions are going to take down the Bears 31 to 20. I would go 31-17, but they did bring in Jake Moody, which I'm surprised they did. He just has not worked out. He has not been a good kicker. But the Bears needed a kicker. And so maybe he gets a couple of cheap field goals in this game. The Bears, I think that they do score 2 touchdowns in this game. Probably both through the air is my guess. But 31-20, that's my take for this game. I think the Lions win. I think it's going to be a fun game. I think the defense is hopefully going to show up. You might get some late stuff by the Bears here. It may not happen early. I will be at the game. If you guys do want to meet up, do some pictures, whatever, celebrate our first opening day. I'll be around. We'll probably be getting into the game early. No tailgate tomorrow since it is opening day. There's so much limit. It's limited time. I would have to be there tonight to be able to pull off the tailgate tomorrow. I'm going to save the tailgates for some of the later games and some of the evening games and that we do have this year. So that's it, man. You guys make your calls of the game. Let me know. We're going to do another parlay today. Since our first one got busted, we'll do a 15-game parlay. If you guys want to participate in that and you are in the members chat, just let us know. Or if you'd like to participate, just look at the post on the YouTube channel and you can put in your winners of the weekend there. We'll do a 15-game parlay out of it. So that's it. You guys have a good day. Thank you for joining the pregame show. This is about an hour longer than it will be next week. It's only supposed to be an hour long. And it'll be more guided towards stats and analytics. So, and then your phone calls, of course. So that's it. You guys have a wonderful day. Probably go to Detroit Lions. On to tomorrow, man. Get a big win at home. You guys take care.
Pressure.